We're an independent band from Green Bay, Wisconsin and Stockholm, Sweden, and we made $60,000 from touring last year just as completely independent, and we did most of everything ourselves.
Let's go!
We got nothing to worry about.
Hi, I'm John.
I'm Amelie.
And we're 7,000 apart. As Amelie said, we are a duo from Green Bay, Wisconsin and Stockholm, Sweden. This is a video about how we made $60,000 as an independent artist from touring.
So we meet a lot of other musicians, and when we say that we've played over like 130 shows and that we actually do this thing full time, they want to know how. So that's why we wanted to put together this video, to just give a little insight into how we have been doing it and how we're planning on going forward with it as well. So we played over 130 shows last year, and it was everything from playing 4 hours in a restaurant to really cool festival gigs and everything in between. And I think that's what you kind of have to do when you're up and coming and when you're starting out. And if you want to make a living from what you love the most, which hopefully is music, we said yes to pretty much anything.
Yeah, we played everywhere. We played campgrounds, we played everything, and that's still kind of what we have to do from time to time. But the thing is it's worth it, and it's really fun, and you get to wake up every day, and sometimes you're like, you know what? Oh, I'm not that excited to go and work, and then you're like, oh wait, I get to play music for a living. This is awesome. And yeah, we made a lot of money from touring, which was kind of surprising because I feel like we didn't expect to make as much as we did the last 2 years. When we decided to quit all of our other jobs, we were like, is this gonna go well? I feel like this is like the most terrifying thing we've ever done, but it's actually been better than, we made more money than all of our other jobs, so it's actually a really good thing, I think.
When you do these different types of gigs, you get a different amount of money, and you can ask for a different amount of money depending on what it is. Like if it's a 4-hour gig with a full band at a big bar or at a big restaurant, you can charge a whole lot more than if you're doing a little showcase just as a duo. And knowing where to set your price points is really important, and we're going to go through that in this video as well.
This last year we made nearly $15,000 just from tips and merchandise.
And this is a very American thing. So if you don't live in the US or in a place where there is like a tipping culture, you might not see these numbers, but we toured mostly in Wisconsin. All of our shows were in Wisconsin except for 22 out of state and 6 in Sweden, since that's where I'm from. And so in Wisconsin, there's a big tipping culture, and people actually buy merch. Like people buy CDs still, so that's really cool.
So we sold a lot of different types of merch. We had stickers, we had t-shirts, we had lots of different things in different price points. And that's one of the really important things that we've learned as well, is that it's important to have things at different price points. So if people have only $1 or $5 that they want to spend, or $20 or $50, you have different options for merch for all those different things. So that way you're catching all the people that might be interested in actually buying something.
So we did some math, and we averaged around $460 per show that we made. So there's a few different variables that go into setting your prices, right? Like how many people you are, how much gear you're bringing, are you bringing your own speakers, are you bringing your own like light show, like what are you bringing to the table, and how long are you playing, and how big of a place is it? So this summer we said that we wanted to get like about $400 for a duo show, where we brought both sound and lights. We don't have like a huge light setup right now. We're working on getting a bigger one. We'll talk about goals for 2023 later. But we have a little bit of lights. We have some cute little freedom sticks, and then we have one wash light. And that makes a huge difference, especially when you're getting into those later months like August, September, when you're playing until 10 and the light goes away at like 7.
Yeah.
And so that's what we bring to the table. And most of our shows were like 3 hours long. I would say that was the average. So for that, we wanted like $500. But if we were bringing the band, we were looking at more of an $800 to $1,000, because we're bringing a lot more gear, we're bringing more people. We had to borrow John's parents' vehicle that isn't as like gas efficient as our car is. And so there's a lot of things that go into setting your price points, like how much gear you're bringing, how many people you are bringing, are you providing sound and lights, all those things.
So as we said, we made around $15,000 out of the $60,000 just from tips and merch. So that's a really important thing. But the other aspect of it is we made $45,000 from the venues paying us directly. So they knew that if we play at their venue, the people that go to their venue, their patrons, are going to stay around longer.
Yeah.
And
So that's our job.
That's our job, basically, is to get people to stay as long as possible so they keep buying drinks or food or whatever for certain types of venues. But then other types of venues, it's all about like, hey, you're going to do an hour show. We want you to be entertaining. We want people to have a really good time in that hour. And so, yeah, our job has depended on what type of show we're doing. But about 3/4 of all the money came from venues.
Yeah, or from ticket sales. Like some
Yeah.
of these shows were also ticketed, and so we would get a split of the tickets.
So let's talk about another statistic that was really important, and that is choosing what your own living expenses are going to be. So for us, we realized that we can pay ourselves around $2,000 every month, which comes to around $24,000 a year for all of our personal living expenses. And then the rest of the money that we made from the $60,000 went back into our business.
Yeah, so paying our musicians, upgrading gear, putting into like ads, marketing,
Recording albums.
recording the album that we're working on. So we have reinvested most of that money. It's not like we have $60,000 sitting in our bank, which that would have been nice. But also what's nicer is that we have a new EP. We were able to pay our musicians, our friends.
So the main people we paid were our band members. So we had a bassist, drummer, we paid an intern, we paid a coach, we paid our producer, we paid booking agents, we paid a photographer, videographers, a lot of different types of people for just everything that we're doing, right? So the important thing with touring is that we could actually make money to reinvest into our original music and push that more.
So even if at a lot of these shows, we didn't do exclusively original music. It was about like 50-50. So 50% covers that people know, 50% are original music. And sometimes that can feel like selling out or like, oh, but I'm so focused on my original music. Yes, but because you do some covers once in a while and you please these venue owners, you actually get to reinvest that money that you're actually making from playing music into your original music. So if you want to play more shows and get paid for your work, here are some quick tips. First of all, start a business. We started an LLC back in 2017, right when we started like really working with this band in the US, and that has helped us so much. It makes you seem a lot more professional, and it's also a lot easier to keep track of the business's money versus your own personal money.
Another really good benefit of that is you can actually write off expenses for your business as tax write-offs.
Yeah.
So if that's instruments, if that's equipment for playing live, if that's recording equipment, if that's marketing expenses, any of those things, you can actually write off the taxes from those expenses. So that's really, really beneficial and something that I think a lot of artists don't think about when they're starting out.
Next tip is don't be afraid to ask bands that are in your area where they play, if they have favorite venues, and how much they charge. And I think it's really easy to be competitive in this business, but I mean, we're all co-workers, you know, and we should support each other, and just don't be afraid to ask other people for insight or help.
Another really good thing that you can do is research bands in your area and see where they perform at. Typically those are venues that are more willing to book new bands. So if you're starting out or if you're trying to play a new place, like a new city or a new state or a new country, it's really important to find bands that are very active and see where they play. That can really help you to get started with booking.
Yeah, and especially if those bands are a little similar to you and what you play as well. A way to do that is going to their bands in town or their Facebook page. Usually you can see the events there.
So back in 2019, I spent 4 months researching that way. So I was looking up where bands were playing, I was looking up venues in the area. It took me 4 months, and I ended up booking 60 shows for 2020, which everyone knows what happened in 2020, and all those shows were canceled, and 4 months of my work was completely gone. 4 months of my life was gone, and I was just sad. So what happened is I was trying to find alternatives, and I had heard about Indie on the Move from, I believe it was the CD Baby's DIY Musician podcast, and I had heard about Indie on the Move, so I decided to check it out. And it's basically in the US, if you're performing in the United States. It's a database of 11,000 venues in the country. It's really incredible. If you want to do the basic thing, you can just get access to that database, but they do have alternative services where you can send emails to all of the venues in a specific state, or you can actually even talk with them and they'll help route tours for you. So in March and May, we decided to try that out and to see if it was going to be a service that was worth using or not. I think it's around $600, but they route...
For their pro services, yes.
For their pro services, it's around $600, but basically they route the whole tour for you and they send the initial emails to all the venues. So all you have to do is reply.
Yeah.
And they ended up sending out around 900 emails, and we got around 30 shows or something from it.
And so, especially if you want to expand from where you live, so most of these shows were out of state. So that's how we kind of venture out, because we don't know the venues. We can't really drive around and check them out if it's like, 18 hours away. So that was a really great way to connect to venues out of state for us. But you can obviously use it for your state as well, just to find other venues in your area that you didn't know about. Once you learn how to book yourself, because it's really important to learn that first and to do some of that grind, I think, then you can start reaching out to booking agents. They will be way more interested in you if they know that you've played a lot before and that you know what you're doing and you've been rehired at places, so they know that you don't break things, or I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Don't suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you don't suck. So once you have some shows under your belt, you can reach out to local booking agents and see if they're interested in you. It's really important to have an EPK, an electronic press kit. So just on your website, just something that sums up who you are, what you play, a few videos, a few pictures, a few audio tracks, maybe a little bio, and maybe if you've gotten some press in the past. So just everything together in one page, and I will put ours here so you can look at it for a little bit, just like this is what ours looks like. So it's really easy to see who you are, what kind of stuff you play, your energy, your vibe. As far as gear goes, I think we could do like a whole separate video on that. And so if you're interested to see what kind of gear we bring on tour, let us know and maybe we'll do a whole video about it. And same as how to plan your shows, like when to take breaks or what kind of songs to play, or how to make it interesting and entertaining and how to make people stay there longer. I feel like that could be a whole video as well. So to wrap this video up, we just wanted to share some fun stories from our touring of 2022. As we said, we played a lot of shows, we met a lot of fun people, we did some crazy weird things, like we played in a grocery store twice for like no one. So that was interesting, but then we also got to play really cool festivals like Summerfest and Mala Music.
So both of those are huge original festivals in Wisconsin. We can just kind of sum it up by saying we've had some really good and really bad shows.
So I hope you got some insight into what it's like to be a full-time touring musician. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Maybe they'll turn into videos. And we're on all social media, so follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all those places. We post a lot of content and we have a lot of fun doing it. We also just moved to Sweden, so that's also a video that's coming to talk about how different it is to be a musician in Wisconsin, the US, and in Sweden, in Stockholm, Sweden, where we're at right now. Also, check out our music. We are on Spotify, all the other streaming platforms. Just search for 7,000 Apart, no space. And we'll see you again soon. Happy New Year and happy touring!
We got na 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 na.